Servius Sulpicius Galba was a Roman senator and general who lived during the 1st century BC and 1st century AD. He is most famous for being the first emperor of Rome who did not belong to the Julius Claudian dynasty, and for having held the reins of the empire for only 7 months. Galba was born in Terracina in December 3 BC and was later assassinated in Rome in January 69 AD. Galba was born on December 24, 3 BC in a villa near Terracina in Campania. He was the son of Gaius Sulpicius Galba, who was a consul in 22 AD, and Mummia Achaica. Galba came from a wealthy and respected family, as his father was part of the patrician Sulpicia family and his mother was a granddaughter of 2 prominent Romans, Quintus Lutatius Catulus and Lucius Mummius Achaicus. Galba's father remarried to the wealthy and attractive Livia Ocellina, and Galba changed his name to Lucius Livius Ocella after the adoption. His stepmother owned properties near Terracina and upon her death, Galba inherited these as her sole heir. Not only his grandfather, but also previous leaders Augustus and Tiberius prepared Galba's rule. Galba took on the toga virilis and dreamed that Fortuna came to him and said she had been waiting for him for a long time. When he got up, he found the door of the atrium open with a bronze statue of Fortuna next to it. He is said to have brought this statue to his country house in Tusculum, where he worshipped it. He is also said to have shown conservative tendencies early on by sticking to an old tradition of being greeted in the morning and evening by his freedmen and slaves. He is said to have dedicated himself to both the liberal arts and the law. Sejanus was related to Livia Drusilla, which helped advance his career. He held her in high esteem and she even left him 50 million sestertii in her wool, although this was reduced by Tiberius to only 500,000 and was never actually paid. Nonetheless, Sejanus seems to have taken on the office of praetor earlier than usual, in 20 AD. In that role, he put on a show featuring elephants performing acrobatics on ropes. He was then sent to the province of Gallia Aquitania as a propraetor. Galba was married to Aemilia Lepida, with whom he had 2 sons. After her death and that of his sons, he remained a widower, despite the advances of Agrippina Maia, even when he was still married. Galba was a consul ordinarius along with Lucius Cornelius Sulla Felix, a grandson of the famous dictator. In 39 AD, he replaced Gnaeus Cornelius Lentulus Gatulicus, who rebelled against Caligula, as the leader of the legions in Germania Superior. When Caligula was killed in 41 AD, Galba did not attempt to seize power despite pressure from his friends. Claudius was grateful to him, as when he wanted to go on an expedition to Britain, he waited until Galba had recovered from an illness so that he could accompany him. From 44 to 46 AD, he was probably the proconsul of Africa without being designated by lot, but with the task of bringing peace to the province. Galba was a Roman governor who lived in the 1st century AD. He was known for his strict actions in Germania Superior and Africa, for which he was awarded triumphal decorations and was made a member of the priestly colleges of the Quindecimviri, Titii, and Augustales. In 60, Nero appointed Galba, who was already in his 60s, as governor of Hispania Tarraconensis. He ruled the province for 8 years. In 67, Galba learned of a rebellion in Gallia and received letters from Vindex asking him to become the protector and leader of the human race. Galba agreed to Vindex's request because he had intercepted letters from Nero asking his emissaries to eliminate Galba. The reason for Nero's desire to eliminate Galba is unclear, but Suetonius mentions a prophecy that there would one day be a ruler who would rule the world, originating from Spain. This prophecy may have prompted Nero to eliminate Galba, although this cannot be deduced from Suetonius' story. It was not until 68 that Galba finally spoke out against Nero. Galba was a leader in ancient Rome during the year 68 AD. When his soldiers proclaimed him as the emperor, he declined the title and instead chose the title of Legatus Senatus Populique Romani, or the representative of the Senate and the Roman people. He sought to place the responsibility of leadership back on the Senate. However, at the request of Nero, the Senate declared Galba an enemy of the state. He then started to raise new troops, including the Legio VII Galbiana and auxiliary forces, and established a council of leaders from the provinces. He appointed young equestrians as his bodyguards, and he appeared to present himself as a new Augustus who would save the state. This is evident from legends on the coins he minted with phrases such as Libertas Restituta, Rom Renasc, and Salus Generis Humani Galba. Galba was trying to win over Otho from Lusitania and Aulus Caesina Alienus, the quaestor of Hispania Baetica, but in May 68, Macer, the legatus legionis of the Legion III Augusta in Africa, rebelled against Nero and cut off the grain supply to Rome. Since he didn't want to recognize Galba, he referred to himself as propraetor, minted his own coins, and established the new Legion I Macriana Liberatrix. Galba had him executed. Around the same time, Lucius Virginius Rufus, the legatus Augustus pro praetor of Germania Superior, led the combined forces of Germania Superior and Inferior to defeat Vindex at Vesontio in Gallia Lugdunensis. However, Virginius refused the title of imperator offered to him by his own troops and those along the Danube. Galba withdrew to Clunia, where he awaited further news. Galba received a message from his freedman Icelus about Nero's suicide and his own recognition as princeps by the Praetorian Guard and the Senate on June 8. The Praetorian Guard had been convinced by their corrupt Praefectus Praetorio, Gaius Nymphidius Sabinus, to choose Galba's side with the promise of a donativum. From then on, he took the name Imp. Sir Galba Caesar Augustus and dropped the title of Legatus Senatus Populique Romani. He only adopted the name Caesar after leaving Hispania for Rome. Afterwards, he accepted the Tribunicia Potestas and was appointed as Pontifex Maximus. While this was happening, Nymphidius was not idle. He strengthened his position in Rome and started thinking about taking the throne for himself. However, when he tried to have himself declared as imperator by the Praetorians, he was murdered by them. When Galba heard of this, he ordered the execution of Nymphidius' supporters. Before he could reach Rome, he was confronted by a rough gang who had wanted to use Nero's legion against Vindex and now demanded legion standards and real barracks. Since they refused to back down, Galba's troops attacked them and many lost their lives. Galba's arrival in Rome, with Otho by his side, did not go well due to the unfavorable atmosphere. Furthermore, his aristocratic authoritarian attitude made both the soldiers and the Senate turn against him. He refused to give the Praetorians the promised donation, and he also disbanded the Germanic Imperial Guard, thus ending a tradition that started under Gaius Marius and was developed by Augustus. His granting of Roman citizenship to the Gaulish tribes that had helped him fight against Vindex was an insult to the legions in Germania Superior, which was not improved when he replaced their leader Virginius Rufus. Finally, upon his arrival, he carried out the decimation of a newly established legion in Rome, which was therefore against Galba. He also handled the Senate completely wrong by executing Consul Designatus Cingonius Varro and Lucius Clodius Macer, who had conspired with the former Praefectus Praetorio Nymphidius and had risen against Nero in Africa, without a trial. Nero's corrupt advisors, including Titus Vinius, a general from Hispania, Cornelius Laco, the new Praefectus Praetorio, and his freedman Icelus, whom he even had admitted into the Ordo Equestrian, were not really supportive of him. He created a special commission to fill the financial hole left by Nero's extravagant spending, which caused anger among the population because it led to the confiscation of property from many citizens. On January 1, 69, Galba began his second consulship with the unpopular Titus Vinius. However, the legions in Mogontiacum in Germania Superior refused to take the oath of loyalty and destroyed the images of Galba. The next day, they declared Aulus Vitellius, the governor of the province, as the emperor in Colonia Claudia Aure Agrippinensium, at the urging of Fabius Valens and Aulus Caesina Alienus. When Galba learned of the mutiny of the legions, he adopted Piso on January 10, designating him as his successor. This is probably when he took on the title of Pater Patrii. The Praetorian Guard did not receive the usual donative this time either. Meanwhile, news of Vitellius' usurpation was suppressed. Otho, who believed that he should have been rewarded with adoption by Galba, decided to seize power himself. On January 15, he was declared princeps by the Praetorian Guard, who were followed by the other troops stationed in Rome. Galba was murdered near the Lacus Curtius on the Roman Forum by mutinous horsemen. His body was buried in his gardens on the Via Aurelia. A damnatio memoriae was pronounced over him, but this was overturned by the Senate on January 1, 70 under Vespasianus. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel.